With the success of the first Dying Light game, it was quite inevitable that a sequel would eventually be released at some point. In 2018, we got our first glimpse of the game in all its glory, and the hype around it exploded. But as many of you might remember, the official launch, almost 4 years later, was quite decisive among the player base, to say the least. From missing features and content, game-breaking bugs, and undelivered promises, it wasn't looking so hot for the future of the franchise, nor for the developers themselves. But now, 3 years after the game's launch, the game has changed quite a bit. The combat, the parkour, the nighttime have all been completely overhauled, more content has been added, and many of the missing features have been brought back. So now the million-dollar question. Is the game finally what the developers originally promised? And can it live up to its critically acclaimed predecessor, or perhaps even surpass it? Who can say for certain? And with the Dying Light the Beast set to release this summer, I thought it would be interesting to take a look back and see how far the game has come since day one. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Dying Light 2, like many big projects nowadays, fell into development hell quite early on. Just like a certain other Polish studio.
Not a great plan.
With many original developers leaving, and Chris Haviland being kicked off the project due to some not so nice false accusations.
Women.
Basically the whole story had to be rewritten, and add multiple technical problems to the mix. The issues just kept on piling and piling, and it was not looking good for Techland. The game was already way behind schedule, and with multiple delays, a lot of stuff was being rushed or entirely cut from the game. And for some reason, the game had a drastic visual overhaul and tonal shift when compared to the original reveal, which angered a lot of the community. So now we fast forward to the release on February 4th, 2022, and things went from bad to worse. The game was both broken and unfinished, and some features, like the co-op, barely functioned at all. And the player base was out for blood. There were riots on the streets, cities were being burned, in a mostly peaceful manner of course, and Techland was put on trial for the crimes against the community. But my good sires, all hope was not yet nigh, as it was promised that the game would get at least 5 years of support. So that meant Techland was forced to lock in and do it fast. So every month or so, the game would start getting updates ranging from size, new events, new content, and even a DLC at some point. With of course a few controversies on the way. So now having made it to the year 2025, have those changes been enough to revitalize the game? So first with the elephant in the room. Is the game actually fixed now? For the most part, I'd say yes. The game runs well, and most of the bugs have been ironed out, and it resembles the product a lot more that was originally advertised. But the game isn't just quite perfect yet. Updates have slowed down considerably, aside a few events from previous years being reused, which is probably due to the Beast releasing this summer. But even with that being said, the new roadmap didn't really share a whole lot of new details. And most of the recent updates and events have been painfully mediocre. Make me think, have the Dying Light 2 dev team decided to take a vacation and go gambling with all the Tencent money they got? They're probably just betting it all on red, cause fuck black. But that's just a theory. A game theory. Alright. All unfunny jokes aside, we can't predict the future, so all we can really do is give them a chance and hope for the best. But what we can do is rate how the game plays as of right now. So for starters, I'd like to take a look at one of the game's core features, the combat. This game, first and foremost, is a zombie game. So bashing their heads in is kind of the whole point. And if there was one word to describe the combat of Dying Light 2, it would be fun. It's fluid, it just works, and it feels damn good to play. And a lot of it is the direct result of the improvements they made over time. Like the adding of new weapons, new gear, introduction of guns, improvements in physics and core, and the list goes on. To deal with your enemies, the game throws a large variety of different weapons at your disposal, ranging from guns, swords, machetes, bats, bows, you name it. They each serve a different purpose and help you deal with the variety of different enemies you might encounter in the game world. And weapons aren't your only option. Drop-kicking the shit out of the zombies and throwing them around the map is as enjoyable as ever. And chaining attacks together into combos during combat is incredibly satisfying.
Very nice.
The other major reason that keeps me playing is the variety of available playstyles. The number of options you have to take out your enemies is basically endless, so there's always something new to try or experiment with, which keeps the game from getting stale. But even after having said all that, I just can't go around and glaze the game for everything, as some problems do still persist, like the worst fractals and physics when compared to its predecessor that hold it back from being near perfect. But seeing as Techland has been quite good at listening to feedback, I would expect some improvements in the future. But of course, alongside combat, one of the other selling points of a Dying Light game is its parkour. Parkour is basically the identity of this franchise at this point, so getting it right on day one was top priority. And if you were to ask my honest opinion, they succeeded big time. When asked if either the sequel or the original is more fun to traverse around, it would always be the sequel. And even at day one, my answer would have been the same, as it has a lot more complexity, fluidity, and allows for the infinite amount of freedom on your part. And over time they just made it better with the help of the community feedback. It honestly makes you feel like Spider-Man on crack. Some people do complain about it being floaty, but I'm gonna be honest, it never bothered me. And the tools like the grappling hook and the glider complement the parkour, rather than making it redundant as soon as you unlock it, like in the case of Dying Light 1. It's also an effective tool in combat, rather than just a feature to get around the map. But I could go on just yapping and glazing the parkour for days, but I think it'll be easier just to show you. When you get into a rhythm, this game makes you feel invincible. Jumping from rooftop to rooftop is pure ecstasy, and it's an experience that you really can't get in any other game. And with the dynamic soundtrack, pushing you to go further and further, it's literally perfection. But now having finished all the glazing I could physically manifest about parkour, we have to mention the last core feature of this game. And of course, that last core feature is the nighttime. You know, dying light, as in the night is approaching and the light is dying.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Come on man, it's literally the goddamn name.
You fight them for the last ray of dying light.
The nighttime in Dying Light 2 is a mixed bag for me. While it's been drastically improved from the snooze fest it was at launch,
What is that? What the fuck is that?
it still doesn't hit the same as it did in 1. I feel it's a combination of a few factors that make it feel less atmospheric than its predecessor. Firstly, it's a parkour. While in Dying Light 1 you had the get out of jail free card in the form of the grappling hook, in Dying Light 2 you have so much more movement options and verticality that keeping a chase is actually harder than losing one. The infected just dip if you don't hold their hand all the time.
Huh?
I swear to god bro, even the zombies have ADHD at this point. Do I need to play a Family Guy episode with Subway Surfers gameplay on my back to keep their attention or some shit? I don't know. They literally made the parkour so good and efficient that the night gameplay became a joke because of it. Anyway, the second part is definitely the lighting, which just feels flat. The shadows and light sources don't pop the same as they did in Dying Light 1, and even with the dark filter, the game just feels a little too bright for me. The third problem is the overall ambience. I don't exactly know what it is, but something is missing. The haunting feeling and ambience that was present in Dying Light 1 just isn't here, so it feels like all the horror aspects kinda fall flat. Overall, the nighttime is just kind of okay. It doesn't do anything horribly, but it doesn't impress you either. It's just not iconic like it was in Dying Light 1. And even on nightmare difficulty, nights are pretty damn easy. Aside maybe level 5 chases, where the volatile tyrants show up and make Tite look like the tutorial boss.
I'm joking! Stop! 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 Stop the break! Stop! Stop!
Fuck.
But Declan has stated they wanna focus a lot more on the horror aspect of the game in Dying Light the Beast, and maybe even bring those updates to Dying Light 2, so one can hope that the best days are yet to come. So now having covered most of the general aspects of the gameplay, there is one part of this game that we sadly still have to get through. And that part, of course, is the story. And to no one's surprise, it fucking sucks. The pacing is horrendous, it's way too long, constantly filled with plot holes, and doesn't make sense half the time. And the writing is actually abysmal. Like 99% of the characters are boring as shit, except you Pookie, you get the pass. And some of them are just plain out insufferable. While Dying Light 1 isn't getting any awards for its painfully mediocre story and writing, it knew when to end before getting annoying. In Dying Light 2, going through the story feels like checking your clock every 5 minutes, waiting for it to wrap up already. As you stopped giving a single fuck about it an hour ago. It's such a drag, man, I swear. The worst part is, it looked like it could have had some potential. Up until the VNC Tower raid, it really seemed like the story was going somewhere, but sadly, that somewhere was straight to shit. And to save your precious time, I'll just condense the story in a minute or less, and skip all the pointless garbage. The story takes place in the last standing city named Villador. You play as Aiden, who's searching for the convenient plot element named Mia, who happens to be your sister. The generic evil scientist number 30, named Waltz, supposedly has Mia, so you try to look for some clues. But right after meeting him and making it to the city, you get stuck in the middle of a gang war between the peacekeepers and the survivors, who are such good people that the first thing they try to do is hang you.
Hang that nigga
I got the rope right here.
You meet Hakon, some irrelevant NPCs, and this skank. Then after some shitty plot twist, you make it to the center loop, just to run some errands, lick some boots, and gather some info. And eventually climb the VNC tower.
Remember, no Russian.
Now you remember you were supposed to be searching for vaults, so you do some shit to move the plot along.
They don't hit the Pentagon! What the fuck?
And now the colonel, who was hyped up to be this big bad villain, becomes relevant for the entirety of one mission. Exquisite writing! After that, you chase Waltz to his secret base and get to choose between 4 endings with slightly different cutscenes. Roll credits. There, I saved you some time. If you couldn't tell, I wasn't a fan.
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
Most of the characters in this game are either mentally challenged or irrelevant, and Waltz is such a comically dogshit villain, it feels like they were written by a middle schooler using ChatGPT. The side characters feel like plot devices to move the story along, and have basically zero interesting traits about them. For example, Mia's literally there to be useless and fucking die in every single scenario, doesn't matter which ending you get. Like, who wrote this garbage? And don't get me even started with Lavon. Like, please tell me how does one write a character so obnoxious and unlikable? Every time she opens her stupid bitch mouth, I wanted to grab her by the neck and yeet her ass into upcoming traffic. And then a game about your choices matter, so why don't I have the choice to put some lead through her tiny brain? I swear to God, bro, this is literally 1984.
This is like George Orwell's book, 1984.
The entire story progression felt so unnatural and forced, they might as well have not bothered at all. The so-called character development in this game goes something like this. I hate you and I hope you die, so help me with this massive task or backstab someone who's promising to help you. Then I'll be your best friend. Like, bitch, fuck you. With the choices given, I felt like my intelligence was constantly being insulted. And it got old really quick. And that happened over and over again. All the writers pulled some bullshit out of their asses to explain stuff they couldn't be bothered to flesh out. As far as the open world goes, choosing factions really doesn't change much in terms of the story, as most of the changes are purely for gameplay purposes. I could be siding with the peacekeepers and kill them outside their own base without a single consequence. And then just waltz in there smiling and waving as if I didn't just brutalize 15 of their comrades. And at the beginning of the story, the survivors try to kill Aiden, and 5 minutes later, they expect me to be buddy-buddy with them and help those losers because they can't get shit done on their own. Like, get the fuck out. I already took a massive shit on this lazy slop of an ending, as the choices really don't matter at all. Whether some characters live or die in the story doesn't really matter, as the result is just a slightly different cutscene. The game ends with Aiden walking away, smiling, doesn't matter if the city is even standing or who controls it. What's the point of gaslighting the players into believing the stuff would be different had they made a different choice? The only 2 notable choices are whether you leave with Hakon or with Lawan, but that's it. I'm guessing they were hoping that people would play this game more than once to extend game time, but because the story was so badly paced, I really didn't want to go through it more than once. The entire choosing marrying stick really felt like it was left when Avalon was on the project, but because it was one of the main advertising points of this game, they kinda had to keep it. Aside a few quests that they already showed at E3, most of the choices don't matter in the grand scheme, so replaying it is kind of a waste of time. There were a few interesting side quests in the game with cool stories, and some of the main missions like the VNC Tower and the Colonel Hideout mission were really cool, but they got drowned out by the amount of boring slop being thrown at you from every single direction. There is also the Bloody Dice DLC, where the story once again isn't amazing, but it's short enough to get the job done quick. It's free, it gives you some good loot, and I can't really complain about that much, as it's just more content in the game. To condense my thoughts, this story is a mess. It was quite clear that Chris Avalon was the driving force behind a lot of the stuff, and the new story felt like it was thrown together within a week or so just because the game needed to have a story. Techland really has to lock in with the writing department, as they can make a compelling plot, like the following was. I just hope that the beast doesn't follow the trend that they've set thus far. I just wanna have a good Dying Light story, you know? So now, with this lengthy rant over, next I would like to touch upon the content and endgame that this game provides. So now that you've completed the main story, what else is there? The game throws a large variety of open world activities and random encounters at you that you would expect from a modern open world game.
One time is funny, 2 times is fucking annoying, no?
While it definitely doesn't lack in quantity, the quality is so-so. Most of the open world encounters either ask you to rescue someone or take out some bandits, which gives you varying quality of gear. At night, you either take out volatile hives or hunt some special infected to get some loot and mutation samples. But that's about the complexity that those encounters provide. You can also activate safe zones by either taking over windmills, bandit camps or metros. With the amount of icons and clutter on your map, it makes it feel like there's a huge amount of content to get through. While in reality, a lot of those activities are the same thing over and over again. And while doing those activities, you can start signing sectors of the map to one of the 2 factions, either the Peacekeepers or the Survivors.
Baba Booey.
To do that, you either have to climb a tower or activate some power stations. I'm getting a strong feeling of deja vu with this one. Anyway, the Peacekeepers will give you traps and weaponry in the game world,
I was born on a Dublin street where the lion drums did beat.
while the Survivors provide you with zip lines and jump pads to make traversal around the map quite a lot easier. But now let's say you completed all the activities, what's the endgame like? In all honesty, there really isn't that much to do. While it's undoubtedly fun to run around the map and bash zombies, I feel like the endgame needs something a little more. There are some reused boss fights with anomalies, some survivor missions and bloody dice arenas, and some other filler content that isn't really worth mentioning, but frankly, that's about it. In Dying Light 1 for example, we already had PvP and of course the prison heist. But some of you might be wondering, didn't they introduce the tower raid not so long ago? And you would be correct. But I simply can't see myself playing this game mode long term. Already after a few rounds, I felt like I'd seen and played everything. And because this game mode is separate from the base game, none of your base game loot or gear can be used here. So grinding for it is basically pointless, as the one big piece of endgame content that Declan promised doesn't even allow you to use all the stuff that you acquired through hours of playing. The rewards are cool and all, but what's the point in grinding all of those things if I can't even use them in any meaningful endgame content? Just kind of silly if you ask me.
Don't you feel silly? Don't you feel stupid? Don't you feel a little ashamed?
So can we even call it an endgame? Because this feels like a side quest to do once or twice and then kind of forget about. With the initial beta, I thought Techland was cooking, but once again they managed to burn the food, which is kind of disappointing. With the tower raid being a bit of a flop, the entire endgame kind of feels incomplete still. Whether Techland has any plans to add anything in the future or not is uncertain as of now. Maybe they'll add something after the beast, but just having to sit around and wait in the dark is getting old at this point. For the last part of this section, I'll give a quick overview of the game's map. While it has 2 sectors, like in Dying Light 1, it's quite a lot bigger and a lot more vertical than it was in its predecessor. While there are a lot of copy and base assets, looking at Duty hospitals, it has been improved over time. But overall, the map is a fantastic playground, especially for parkour. While it lacks a gritty feeling of the original demos, it does provide the perfect playground to freerun across the map, achieving its intended purpose. But what I will say is that the quality of the sectors is quite varied, as the old town is just kind of mid, while the central loop really opens the game up in a massive way. But hey yo man, before we go on ahead, I gotta give a shout out to
Olivier de Rivière
for cooking up an absolute fire of a soundtrack for this game. My man even dropped a comment on one of my videos. While somewhat different from the first game, the OST does a fantastic job at elevating the gameplay, especially during the parkour, with its dynamic music that gets more intense the better you perform. The music in chases also gets a lot more intense the more you level them up, which makes them a lot more thrilling.
Run, bitch! Run!
If you haven't listened to the game's full soundtrack yet, I'd recommend you to go and give it a listen, as it really has some amazing tracks in it. So now after that lengthy app session, I gotta answer the question I asked at the beginning of the video. How does Dying Light 2 stack up to Dying Light 1? While I somewhat covered this topic in the previous segments, I'll make a quick summary on the age-old Dying Light 1 vs Dying Light 2 question. While Dying Light 2 does lack the atmosphere of the original, it improves in many aspects, such as parkour, combat, quality of life changes, just to name a few. While physics in 2 are still behind 1 as of now, but it's not something that can't be fixed in the future. Both games are really great at what they do, but thematically they're quite different. If you're looking for a survival horror game, then go for Dying Light 1. But if you want an action parkour game, then Dying Light 2 is the game for you. For For some, it might be a turn-off, as a sequel is supposed to build on the original rather than reinvent the wheel. But the current flaws of Dying Light 2, aside the story, aren't something that can't be fixed. And for the most part, Declan has been solid at listening to community feedback, so I guess we'll just pray and hope. While it is sad that we won't be getting the original vision that was shown in 2018 and 2019, but at least it's better than nothing. With now all that said, I am somewhat concerned for the future of Dying Light 2. The new roadmap for this game left a lot to be desired. Just a few events and some weapons and content being added, but that just simply won't bring most of the players back. The last few events and updates have been kinda boring if you ask me, and the Tower really wasn't the big hit Declan thought it would be. The changes from Dying Light Beast making it into Dying Light 2 would be really cool, but whether if or when that might happen, we don't really know. So on that somber note, it's time to wrap this shit up. In general, Dying Light 2 is a good game. Hell, it's even a great game. Some issues that still need addressing. While the road here has been anything but smooth, the game has come a long way. And I would go as far as to say it's actually a good sequel. I can already feel the Dying Light 1 loyalists doxing my address as we speak. And probably making a red post for good measure. The dogshit story aside, there's a lot of fun to be had here. So if you haven't tried it yet and happen to catch a sale, I'd recommend giving it a try. The fantastic parkour, enjoyable combat, and addicting gameplay loop, coupled with a banger of a score and a decent nighttime experience, this game has a lot to offer. While some problems like the lackluster physics, somewhat bland map design, the flat lighting, and the lack of endgame do take it down a peg. But what I will say, Dying Light 2 didn't leave an impact like Dying Light 1 did for me, but that doesn't make it any less fun. And because the games excel at so different areas, it's still really hard for me to say which game is objectively better. But if I had to pick, I would be slightly leaning towards Dying Light 1 thanks to its 1 out of 1 atmosphere that Dying Light 2 just doesn't replicate. And in all honesty, there's still a lot of stuff I could say about this game, both good and bad. But because this video is already getting way too long, I think I'll just wrap things up and draw the line here. But do let me know which one of the games you prefer more down in the comments below, as I basically read all of them and try to respond as much as possible. And with that, that's all I had to say, and I do hope you enjoyed watching. And if you're curious, I've already covered Dying Light 1 and Dying Light the Following, so go give those videos a watch too. I do hope you enjoyed my rambling, as this video took a lot longer than initially expected, thanks to university and having a job. I know, crazy, I am actually employed. But with that said, I've basically covered everything in the Dying Light franchise to this point, so I'm mostly waiting for Dying Light Beast to make more content on the franchise in the near future. I already have some ideas for the games I would like to cover next. Some of them are the ones I currently really enjoy, and others are classics that I'd really like to replay. I'll probably make a poll on the channel soon to see what you all would like to see next. I also want to do some other content in between these bigger videos, so expect some more variety on the channel. Anyway, if you want to support me and help me make more of these types of videos, you can always become a channel member to get special perks on the channel. You can also drop a like and a comment on the video and watch my other stuff, as it really helps the almighty algorithm. With that said, I'll be taking my leave, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Bye bye now.